Okay, raise your hands. How many of you have ever sent an email to the wrong person? Okay, and how many have ever questioned a decision by you or someone you know to post a particular photo, video, or politically charged statement to Facebook or Snapchat? And how many have ever misinterpreted the tone of a text? If you communicate via modern technology, chances are you've experienced at least one of these social media faux pas. And it's not just happening to us. Every day in the news, celebrities, politicians, and some of the most prominent people in our world are engaged in controversies over Facebook, tweets, and email. My name is Aaron McGinley. I'm a counselor and a social skill instructor. For nearly 20 years, I've helped junior high kids get ready for their first dance, supported community college students in settling in for job interviews, and guided anxious adults through the nuances of social situations. My primary specialty is working with people on the autism spectrum. We all wrestle with social interactions throughout our lives. But for people with autism, this struggle is persistent and intensified. I love my job. I love it a lot. But 20 years ago, it was much simpler. The increased use of technology and social media has really had an impact on what I do. For the people I work with, face-to-face social interactions, they're challenging enough. But when you add in technology and social media blunders, the consequences can be pretty profound. Online social mistakes are everywhere. They're so common that we hardly flinch when we experience them. Because for most of us, these little online moments of awkwardness, they won't ruin our relationships, cripple our careers, or harm our social and emotional well-being. But most of us aren't like Jerry. Jerry is a 19-year-old client of mine with autism. Now don't worry, that's not his real name. He came into my office with a pretty substantial laundry list of challenges. Jerry was unemployed. He had been fired from his last job because he sent a sarcastic text to his boss, and he didn't pick up on the social cues that his boss was pressed to meet an important deadline and in no mood for joking around. Jerry was single. He didn't understand why his online dating profile wasn't bringing many responses. Now, it featured a picture of him hastily shaved in a mismatched camouflage attire. Challenges like these can be typical for people like Jerry on the autism spectrum. They often struggle with understanding social cues, an inability to take other people's perspectives, and a kind of social blindness that often results in these sorts of social challenges. In the past, people like Jerry, they struggled with social boundaries, but they didn't have Facebook to worry about. They were often confused in social settings, but they didn't have 5-second Snapchats to interpret. They made social mistakes, but they didn't have impulsive emails and texts permanently delivered at the tap of a button. To better understand the ramifications of technology on the lives of people like Jerry, I'd love to take a look at a quick example. Jerry had the biggest crush on a waitress at a restaurant he went to regularly. In fact, the whole reason he decided to come see me was he felt maybe I could help him find his way into this young lady's heart. So we prepared. I told him why pickup lines were bad and why deodorant was good. We talked about the fine art of gentle banter, and I discussed 15 ways to put his panic attacks aside before I went into the restaurant. After 6 weeks, he felt he was ready to finally ask her out. So I gave him a pep talk and sent him on his way. So Jerry goes to the restaurant. And thankfully, he followed our plan and he flirted like a pro. I'm telling you, he made eye contact but didn't stare. And somehow, he became friends with this young lady. And somehow, he gets her email address. So she tells him she'd like to hang out sometime, but that a relationship with her kind of ex-boyfriend was complicated. Still, their first meeting goes well. Jerry goes home from the restaurant, and he sees that she's accepted his Facebook friend request. And what's the very first thing that he does outside of the cafe, his first interaction with her? He posts to her Facebook wall about the great time they had had, and he even goes so far as to throw the ex-boyfriend under the bus. Now, if you don't use Facebook, you know that this is a big social no-no, right? Never share sensitive personal information to a public area. Suffice it to say, his budding relationship with this young lady did not last very long. Now, for every social skill mistake that people like Jerry make when they aren't on their computers, cell phones, or tablets, I can pretty much guarantee you that those same difficulties will eventually manifest themselves online. With every passing day, technology is further entwined in the lives of people like Jerry. In his case, 1/3 of his time spent outside of school was spent on the computer. For some of my clients, more than half their waking hours are spent online. And the mistakes they can make while they're online can have lifelong consequences. Now, you might not think that you know someone like Jerry, but recent estimates indicate that more than 3.5 million Americans live with an autism spectrum disorder. So I'm guessing that you do, even if you don't know it. My hope in sharing this with you about Jerry is to raise your awareness that this problem exists for a pretty large population. And while you and I might send an email in error, misinterpret the meaning of a text, or post something offensive to Facebook, we're not likely to suffer serious consequences. But for people with autism, these sorts of mistakes can have long-lasting effects on their social and emotional well-being. What you do with this awareness is up to you. Perhaps you might be inclined to be a little more forgiving if you receive a poorly composed text or email, or maybe you decide to help a young person put together their social media profile, or maybe you even agree to help edit someone's correspondence on an email before they hit send if they've asked. And if you become aware of people like Jerry experiencing devastating consequences like the ones I've described, perhaps you find a way to help them or their loved ones know that there's help available. There are people like me who specialize in working with people like Jerry in the mental health and counseling fields. Some of you might be wondering what happened to Jerry. Well, let me tell you, we got him a shave and helped him post some solid Tinder photos. He's been corresponding with several girlfriends. We helped him put together a plan to have someone look over his emails before he sent them, and had a conversation about which sorts of conversations to have by text and which ones to have in person. With the appropriate help and support, he now has a meaningful and engaging life both offline and on. At least as well as any of us can in this crazy digital world we live in. Thank you.